Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso at thewatchbox.com for pricing details. Today, we're discussing a large and impressive iconic piece from Breitling of Grenchen. Taking a quick look, it's the Breitling Navitimer B01 Chronograph 46, part of Breitling's famed flight calculator chronograph series that dates back, depending on who you believe, to either 1954 or 1952. We're going to go with Breitling's number and say that the watch hails from 1952, when it succeeded the previous Chronomat as Breitling's most sophisticated logarithmic scale flight calculator and the first in the industry capable of performing all calculations associated with aviation. Now, the watch is large at 46 millimeters in rose gold. It's almost red gold. You can see this may be 5N. It's exceptionally intense. 14.5 millimeters thick, 52.5 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip with a broad 24 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Now, the watch is actually not as broad as I thought it might be from lug to lug. A similarly sized IBC Big Pilot's watch is about 4 millimeters broader, but this is still a large timepiece, and I'm going to recommend that your wrist be minimally 17 centimeters circumference to wear it. You can see my wrist at 16 centimeters is maybe just a little bit overpowered, particularly over the top. You can see those lugs are encroaching on the edge of my wrist, so that's going to be the defining shot. If you think you're borderline for this, just remember this shot. If it's over the edge of your wrist, it's too much. Now, it's not particularly thick given how much mechanism sits within, but it's not going to clear the tightest of dress cuffs, though jackets, assuming you have a wrist large enough for this watch, should be just fine. Here we have a thick gauge matching red gold deployant clasp. You can see single swing arm, and the way this works, you'll note that there are no perforations on the opposite side strap. The strap just tucks in here, and then it actually goes through the buckle, gets latched down, and then you simply close it, and all excess length hides underneath the clasp body and the straps. There's no need for minder loops. It's a very clean system when fully closed. I should also mention that this watch, though a pilot's timepiece, features a level of refinement on its strap that you typically don't find on pilot's watches. The classic look for a pilot's watch and classic spec is going to be calfskin with a contrasting stitch. The use here of large rectangular scale, symmetrical scale alligator leather means that real money was spent on the strap, and it's thicker and more substantial and more upscale than is necessary for a pilot's watch until you consider the size and price of this full gold model, in which case it feels perfectly appropriate. But in aviator's fashion, we do have that contrasting stitch. And the nice thing about not having holes in the strap is that they don't gouge. These straps that crimp rather than perforate, they last longer. You could see that it's a sheer cut side showing thick layers of leather, and there is some bolstering to give it thickness and volume as it approaches the case. You can see calfskin on the bottom, a brand new Breitling factory strap. Taking a look at the case, it hasn't changed much in design since the 50s. Bigger, yes, but the lines themselves and the proportions haven't changed much. The mid case is still thin. Here you can see the case back is cinched in a little bit, so on the wrist the watch looks like this. It looks thinner. There's a little bevel that expands on the shoulder of the lugs, which are integrated and short, and you can see they're squared off on their end. We have pump-style chronograph pushers, and we have a Breitling B. We also have a bezel that features a combination of recesses in satin finish, and then bezel top and outer knurling in polish. Now, the way this works is you can see that there are various types of calibrations. Nautical miles, we have meters, we have kilometers. We have everything we need to calculate things like ground speed, airspeed, rate of climb, and fuel burn, all of which can be executed using this circular slide rule, and that's what it is. I was in the Navy. I was public affairs and naval aviation. We still teach naval aviators to use this type of system while flying, even though obviously there are more modern solutions. It's important to preserve the fundamentals. So they say don't do math while streaming, but that's generally for people who aren't good at math. I'm not terribly concerned about that, so I will demonstrate briefly how all of this works. So for example, let's say you want to divide 70 by 2. Well, it works like a fraction. You take what's to be divided and you place it over a divisor. So there you go, 70 on top of 2. This doesn't give you your decimal place, so you're going to have to keep that in mind. So is this 7 divided by 2? Is it 700 divided by 200? Is it 70 divided by 2 or 70 divided by 20? You got to remember these things, but you know where to look to find the answer. You line up your fraction like that, and you roll over to the index. And of course, let's just say 70 divided by 2 is going to be 35. Now, if you want to multiply, it works the opposite. Let's multiply 40 by 2. Okay, so I put the number to be multiplied over the index. Remember, the index is that little red 10. 40 times 2. I go over, I find 2 again. You can see 40 times 2 is 80. Very simple. Easy to use, and there are more things you can do with it, but this is the fundamentals, and all most pilots would use even in vintage times. You can see it's silver and dished, which is nice because it adds a tonal contrast. The center dial is a sunburst metallic anthracite, so somewhere between gray and black. And then we have this lovely rose gold gilt-style print for the scales outboard. Rose gold hands, rose gold logo, rose gold indices. You can see there's a date hiding there between 4 and 5. We'll do a quick loom shot right here. No issues, well loomed. And it's a 30-meter water-resistant watch, which isn't highly water-resistant, but it's pretty much the standard in the pilot's watch class. Taking a quick look at the registers, they too are dished, and a tone-on-tone dial in the Georges Kern era of Breitling, so since basically late 2017. Two-tone dials mean manufacture movements, so we do have the Breitling manufacture B01 in here. Now, B01 has a couple of features that I really like. First, one of the world's crispest column wheels for function cycling. You can hear it, you can see it, and you can feel it. It feels as good as anything from Rolex, Longa, or Frederic Piguet. Now, we also have a vertical clutch. The vertical clutch means that there's no play in the engagement system, so when you start the chrono, look how smooth that is. It starts without jumping, and because of the vertical clutch, there's no additional wear and tear in the coupling, so you can just leave it running. If you prefer to have running seconds on the dial full time for whatever reason, you can do that. Now, the watch does have some subsidiary setting modes. You've got the hacking seconds. That's the full stop. Everything has been stopped. You can synchronize to a reference time. Then there's also a quick set system that allows you to rapidly cycle the date should the watch run down or encounter an irregular length month. Flip it all over. The B01 wasn't designed to be seen. It debuted back in 2009 on the Chronomat with a solid case back. Fortunately, it's actually a pretty good looking movement for an automatic chrono, and you can see most of the fascinating works. So you can see here we have a bimetallic element, combination of what's probably a rose gold plated center with a mass in tungsten outboard. This is a B01 automatic winding, 70-hour power reserve, vertical clutch, column wheel, hacking seconds, quick set date. It's a 47 joule movement that beats away at 4 beats per second, or I should say 4 hertz, 8 beats per second. Adjusted in 5 positions is also a COSC certified Swiss chronometer. You can see it can be adjusted very precisely using a combination of a micrometric regulator, and then for other adjustments, we have a sliding index and Edicron keys for timing and beat error. And again, a very good looking movement. My favorite part of this movement is the visible column wheel. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.